Unspoken Issues.
Welcome to the Unspoken Legion, listening to our latest Unspoken Issues podcast. Normally, you would be hearing Jesse Starcher right about now, but, this COVID-19, the pandemic is, affecting pretty much everybody in every walk of life, and Jesse's healthy, his family's healthy as far as I know, but it is affecting his ability to podcast right now, so I'm going to be hosting. This is Chris Armstrong, and with me today, I've got Al Sedano of the Resurrections and Adam Warlock and Thanos podcast. What's up, Al?
Hey, Chris. How you doing?
Not too bad. Since I knew we were going to have you on, I wanted to kind of focus on some cosmic superheroics. I know that's kind of in your wheelhouse with the Warlock and Thanos stuff. So
just a tad, yeah.
Yeah. So we put up a poll on the Unspoken Decade Facebook page, and we had Adam Strange #1 from 1990 going up against Guardians of the Galaxy #11. And it was pretty handy victory for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Looks like 46 votes to 30. Guardians of the Galaxy #11. And that was your pick, Al. So why Guardians of the Galaxy? Are you a fan of the characters?
Yeah, no, I like this book a lot. I read this as it came out, starting with issue 1, when this is the run of the original Guardians of the Galaxy. So no Rocket Raccoon, no Star-Lord, no Gamora. This is in the 31st century of Marvel. And this is the original team that started in like 1968 or 69. Mm-hmm. And this is the run that Jim Valentino wrote and drew up until the point that he left for Image.
Right, yeah, I was mostly familiar with Valentino because of Shadowhawk. That was the first time I'd ever read anything that he'd done, and I was a huge Shadowhawk fan for those early Image comics. And then I think retroactively, I went back and found some Guardians issues. I don't know if it was because I knew he had worked on it or if I just realized that after the fact. But I wasn't really a Guardians fan. I know I had the issue, might have been issue 25 with Galactus on the cover.
Yeah, that's like near the end of his run.
Yeah, and that's the only specific issue I can really remember. That one and the issue with the future Ghost Rider on the futuristic Sky Cycles.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one. I remember him. No, I liked what he did with the book because, he did stuff to either on his own or because of the editor said to attract sales by putting in, like this one has Mutants and Phoenix on the cover. Mm-hmm. And, of course, you said there was a Ghost Rider covers and a few things like that, but he still didn't more. It was still mostly the main characters. Those guys were guest stars. They didn't take over, and he also was trying to build a universe for the this alternate future of Marvel. So I like that. Like he was one crafting the whole universe by himself. Mm-hmm.
So there weren't any other ancillary books to the Guardians that took place in that timeline.
Not right away. Eventually, there was a Galactic Guardians 4-issue miniseries, which spun off a few of the side characters.
Now, I'm not familiar with this either, but I know that the Guardians premiered in, the 70s or maybe 80s?
I think it's 68 or 69.
Oh,
it was an issue of, there was a title called Marvel Superheroes. I think it was number 18.
Okay. And that wasn't the entire, there were 4 of those characters, right? Charlie 27?
Yeah, Charlie, Yondu, this is where Yondu originally comes from.
Uh-huh.
Major Astro and not Starhawk, Martin X.
Okay.
Like the crystal guy.
Was Major Astro, at that time, that was probably before Marvel Boy was a character, right?
Oh, yeah, way before. He was introduced.
He didn't show up until shortly before the New Warriors stories.
Sometime in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometime in the 80s. Basically, he was introduced when Major Astro, Vance Astro, this one from the Guardians, was back in time, because they did that a lot. And was basically trying to change his fate from going into, from spending 1,000 years in cryogenic sleep. And it kind of, because up until the last 15 years or so, the way Marvel time travel always worked is whenever you went backwards or forward in time, you always went to an alternate timeline. So whatever you did would not affect yours.
Right.
So, you could go back in time and kill yourself, but you'll still be alive.
So it's kind of the way the MCU is doing it now.
Yeah, as opposed to what they did with, let's say, All New X-Men, with a book where they brought the original 5 X-Men back.
The young characters come back, yeah.
Yeah, where they treated where Cyclops almost got killed and all of a sudden adult Cyclops started vanishing. It's like, no, that's not how it works. This is an alternate version of them. It doesn't matter what you do to them. It's not going to affect you.
I prefer that, maybe because it's just easier to make sense of things when, it just creates a divergent timeline. It's not as messy, it seems like, to me that way.
Yeah, they started that way back with, I think it was Marvel 201 number 50 or 100, I forget which, where the Thing went back in time and stopped him, gave himself a formula that would have worked on old him to make him human, and he thought he would go back in the future and be normal. And Reed's like, no, that's not how this works.
One more thing before. Sorry,
yes.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so that's what actually the Guardians are not from the official Marvel time, future, because they're all alternate technically.
Mm-hmm.
It's from an alternate timeline. This actually comes from the timeline of War of the Worlds and the character Killraven.
Oh, okay. I think I had heard that Killraven was maybe because of the Avengers Forever stuff is when I realized that
He's
was
in there.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think So the thing is, they took the premise of the War of the Worlds, and it's supposed to be that the Martians invaded Earth sometime in the future of like the 1980s, because that was like 10, 15 years in the future from when those stories were done in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually led to, the character Killraven, led the rebellion against the Martians. And that's the Earth future that, eventually gets to the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Marvel 616 characters didn't exist in that timeline?
Oh, they did. They all get killed.
Okay.
Because if you read more of the series...
when did the Killraven series come out?
That was in the series Amazing Adventures in the 70s.
70s, okay.
So like in the past of the Guardians, like if you look in their history, mm-hmm. Iron Man was there. He just got killed, and actually, he sends all his stuff into like space or something to keep the Martians from getting their hands on it. So it also made it nice for creators here because they got to do their own thing because they didn't have to worry about what actually did happen to the characters. They can just make up their own stories for endings for them.
Right, like it didn't set it in stone for what was going to happen to the characters in the present.
Exactly, because they can say, Captain America died in 1985. When the Martians invaded. Didn't matter. Could still keep publishing Captain America, different timeline.
But yeah, I when going back to the poll, we put it up against Adam Strange #1, which is a 3-issue series that I've got and I've never actually read. So that's one of the reasons I put it up there. But I was actually intending initially to put up Cosmic Odyssey until I realized that came out in like '89. So it just missed the Unspoken issues window.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's a little early.
But anyway, let's get into this actual issue, Guardians of the Galaxy number 11. I've got some stats here from Mike's Amazing World. Guardians of the Galaxy number 11, cover date April 1991, goes on sale February 19th, 1991. Written, as we said, by Jim Valentino, also pencil art by Valentino, inker Steve Montano?
Sure.
Letterer Ken Lopez, and colorist Evelyn Stein. So we open up with Starhawk kind of inner monologue, giving us an update on what's happened up to this point. He's on a planet. They're on a planet called Haven. I'm kind of leaning on you because, again, I've never read any of these issues. So there's a rebellion on Haven where I guess Rancor is the leader of this planet, despot, basically.
Yes.
And her mutant lieutenants, it says. So I guess Rancor is also a mutant.
Oh, yeah. But you can guess who she's related to.
Yeah, she's got a very unique hairstyle.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a Logan mullet.
Yeah.
So get that here, and Starhawk basically unleashes the Phoenix as a last resort to keep this planet from tearing itself apart, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because the people are trying to rebel. So, and obviously these mutants these are evil mutants. They're just like, let's kill everybody. I mean, it's as you're seeing this, you're like, these guys don't care. Like, it's one thing I like, by the way, he did it here. Like, they're so despotic. It's like, a few of them, like Rancor, are like in the Sabretooth mode of like, we're gonna kill and love it. But the others are like, it's just like day to them. They don't. It's not something they're upset about or excited about. Just like, I guess we'll kill all these people.
Sociopathic.
Exactly. It's so twisted.
So this character that Starhawk basically gives the Phoenix to, is this one of the Guardians members?
No, this is a human they met on the planet.
Okay.
I forget the specific reasons of why they gave it to him because I only read number 11 just to...
As a refresher.
Just to read 11, just to be on the one issue we're on, and everything else is by memory. But, I mean, doesn't really matter, does it?
No. He's got a pretty cool look. It's basically just a stark black bodysuit, but he has like some gold gauntlets and like a golden Phoenix emblem that kind of goes down. I mean, I guess it goes down all the way to his crotch, but but it's pretty cool. It's a pretty striking image of him like flying out with the flames coming off of him.
Yeah, and it looks, from what I'm trying to remember going through this, but I think the wings that kind of go, the eagle wings, the bird wings that kind of like go up to his shoulders, go down the back of his arms to the gauntlets.
Oh, okay, cool.
So like the gold is all like one piece.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a cool image for Phoenix. I like that.
So we jump from that introduction to Charlie. Is it Charlie 27?
Yeah.
He's pretty beat up, gone through the ravages of battle here. And when he kind of comes to, he sees the Phoenix, and apparently he doesn't know what it is. It doesn't seem like anybody really knows what the Phoenix is outside of Starhawk.
Yeah. I mean, why would they?
Right. So is this supposed to be the... you may not know this offhand, but I'm assuming this is the first time anybody has had contact with the Phoenix pretty much since, the 20th century?
I believe so, yeah. That, as far as I know, the Phoenix has not been around for 1,000 years.
Right,
or
but
at least
Starhawk
nowhere around, or at least nowhere around these people.
Yeah, but Starhawk is pretty keenly aware of what it is. What can you tell me of anything about his backstory? I don't know much about this character at all.
Well, Starhawk calls himself the one who knows, and he's as big a dick as you would think somebody is who calls himself that. It's been a while since I did the part of his origin, but I think the whole premise is that basically Starhawk lives his life, and then his brain gets kicked back to his body, like back in time to his body, and he has to live it over again and over again and over again. So he knows things because that's what happened.
So he's Groundhog Day.
Yeah, except for a life instead of a day.
Right.
But yeah, Groundhog Day, it's perfect. Except unlike, Bill Murray, he doesn't become nicer.
Well, it took a while for Bill Murray to come around.
Yeah, that's true.
I read an article where they did the math on how many days.
Oh, God, yeah. It's like...
They estimated that he lived, and it was in the thousands of years, I believe.
Exactly. It's like, oh my God, he must be completely insane. The ending didn't happen. The ending is just him sitting there drooling now. What's the next day actually happened? Once he realized the next day happened, and she's in an institution for the rest of his life.
The Groundhog Day has almost become a genre the last several years with Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
The Tom Cruise movie, and then Happy Death Day. And there was a Netflix series I haven't watched, but it's basically the same premise where a girl dies.
Happy Death Day? No, that's the movie Happy Death Day.
Right, it's the same in the movie. She dies and comes back. But in some show on Netflix, yeah, this girl, she dies after some party or something, and she wakes up and it's the same day she's living over and over again.
Yeah, it's Natasha Lyonne is the actress.
Right, yeah, from Slums of Beverly Hills and American Pie, stuff like that.
And But I'm a Cheerleader. I like her. Okay.
Yeah, she's cool. It doesn't seem like I see her pop up that often anymore, but I do want to watch that show. I've heard that it's really good.
Yeah, I keep remembering that show, but I haven't had a chance yet. But well, I guess it depends how long this all goes on. If TV shows don't keep being made, I'll have to watch something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right about that. Groundhog Day is kind of becoming a genre. Although, to be fair, Groundhog Day was 93, and I forget what issue it was, but I know the origin of Starhawk was done by Valentino, which means it was before he went to Image.
That, yeah.
So it had to be between 90 and 92. So
if he didn't get ripped off Image, he could have maybe staked a claim to him.
But he at least did that first before he didn't copy Groundhog Day. I mean, I'm sure Harold Ramis probably didn't copy him, but
yeah, right.
He didn't copy that either. No. In fact, real quick, I remember reading before I was looking up some stuff on Valentino. He did offer, apparently, according to Wikipedia, so take that as whatever you want to believe.
Fairly reliable. Not always, but...
He apparently did offer to stay as writer, because he had planned out to issue 50, but they said, no, go away, when he went...
Yeah. There were probably some hard feelings there. I'm not surprised that they declined.
But I would have kept going. I dropped it a few issues after he left.
Uh-huh. So what was his last issue,
I think 25 or 26 was the last issue he wrote and drew. And I think it was 28 or 29, because the last three issues after that, they went back in time, and it was an Infinity War crossover. And I know he didn't draw them.
Okay, yeah.
So it's 28, 29, 30. One of those is his last issue. I forget which. But anyway.
The Guardians apparently had been captured in a previous issue, but...
That's what the handy-dandy little flashback part of the first two-page spread is for. It kind of gives you everything you need to know. It's this is a world rebellion. It's led by mutants. Part of the team has been captured. A couple people have died, and Starhawk released the Phoenix. Okay, that's where we are.
I'm trying to find where the escape happens, and I'm not...
The escape, I think he just neglected to put in there that the people who were the Guardians who were captured had escaped.
Okay, sure.
Because I thought that too when I was reading this issue,
Okay.
but I went, oh, they obviously must have escaped before the end of last issue.
But so yeah, they make their escape.
Well, yeah. Well, first, the Phoenix. Some of the mutants are in a little battleship and try and take out the Phoenix, and he just blows them up. And Charlie kills one of them as he tries to escape.
They try and attack him with their cruiser, and he makes short work of it.
Oh yeah, he just lances at it and boom, it explodes. But of course, the one inside is the one who has teleporting powers.
And Charlie 27, he just kills that guy, right? So the Guardians don't have any issues with killing bad guys.
No, the Guardians started as a rebellion on Earth because the Earth had been taken over. So they're actually they were starting as rebel leaders. So I mean, there is actual
whatever has to be done, basically.
Oh yeah, they're like, we gotta kill you. Like they're more like a commando unit than a superhero team.
So how did Vance end up in the future with the Guardians?
He was supposed to be the first human for long-term space travel. Like he was set up in a special protective suit and in cryogenic storage, and he was basically going to the next star. So it was going to take him 1,000 years to get there. And the problem is, around a couple hundred years after he took off, they discovered and developed easy, faster than light travel. So by the time he got there, people were there. And because of how long he was going to be for and the technology they had at the time, that suit was made specially to keep him from dying. So even though he's 1,000 years old, as long as he keeps that suit on, he's okay. But if that suit starts getting ruined or ripped, and obviously it's semi-armored, he'll start having problems if he's exposed to air.
Now, isn't there a point where he ends up in a different costume? Because I want to say I remember him in a trench coat.
Oh, yeah, they change things, of course. And they get him to a point where he's able to be out of the costume, and then he gets back stuck in the costume.
I just wasn't sure if that was the same character.
Oh, yeah, same guy. Yeah, think like Rogue. Oh, Rogue can touch people. No, she can't touch people. Now she can touch sometimes. No, she can't now. Now she's fine. No, she's not.
Whatever the writer feels like doing.
Yeah, so he's like Rogue. Except instead of affecting other people, it affects him.
So the Guardians ship is, I didn't know this, it's called the Captain America 2?
The first Captain America 1 got blown up.
Okay, so that was their ship as well.
Oh, yeah.
I knew he had Cap's shield, but I didn't realize that there was that's what they called their ship, which is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, because he was from the 20th century, so he knows, Right. And then, of course, they did go back in time and meet the Avengers, so they all know who Captain America and Thor and stuff is because they've met them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the shield was the whole premise of the first 6 issues. It was a whole thing of a quest of finding this mystical artifact, which ended up being Captain America's actual shield. And it was found on the planet that we'll get to at the end of this issue.
Oh, okay. So it's not the same planet that blows up, I'm assuming. That's
No. The one at the end. Yeah, not Haven. The one at the end.
Right. So...
Oh, I was just going to say Nikki going after the giant guy. Nikki, the Guardian with the flaming hair.
Right.
I mean, you thought Charlie was killing the guy. She shoots him in the eyes. I'm like, that's awesome.
Is his name Blockade? Is that what they called him?
I'm assuming he's Blockade, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's essentially a giant. I mean, he's not like giant, but he looked like he's probably a good 12 feet tall.
Yeah.
And the mass is Hulk proportions nearly.
Exactly. But that's just, I like that. She's just she just blows the hell out of his eyes. But yeah, we get there, and of course, we get to that final part with Rancor.
The Rancor basically decides, I guess, if she can't have Haven, nobody can. So she sets off. Essentially, the world's volcanoes, the planet's volcanoes are erupting, and it's on the verge of basically pulling to Krypton.
Exactly.
And so we get a pretty cool 2-page spread of the planet, in the middle of an explosion, and the Phoenix in the background. I mean, the Phoenix is 3 times the size of the planet, maybe.
Oh yeah, it's basically eating the planet.
Yeah, it looks like it's consuming the planet, in its entirety, and that's what the Guardians are seeing from their ship. And they think the Phoenix consumed the planet, killed everyone on the surface, and then I guess Starhawk contacts them and lets them know, no, we is it Gerard? Is that his name?
I never know how to pronounce that name.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Gerard.
It's future names.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, he's there with all of basically the population of the planet.
Yeah, they use the energy from the planet blowing up and the Phoenix consuming it to basically teleport everyone, to supercharge the teleporters from the Guardian ship and teleport everyone from the planet to another planet.
So what's the significance of this second planet?
The other planet is controlled by mainframe, the computer that it's basically a living computer that runs it. But it wasn't always a computer that ran a planet. 1,000 years ago, it was a computer known as the Vision.
Oh, that's cool. I guess that's his image there behind
on the last page. Yeah.
Yeah, on the last page, I can see it now.
Yeah, basically the Vision. Because like I said, that's the cool thing about doing this, not just 1,000 years, but in its own timeline. You can do different things and decide which characters, go like, well, these characters will probably live forever, so let's go with that. How do they evolve? How do they change? The Vision's now basically a sentient world.
Right. And then they basically, there's kind of an abrupt conclusion. Once this is resolved, they get a priority distress from Firelord. Is that a character that had shown, I mean, I know who Firelord is, but has Firelord appeared before this in this series, or is this going to be the first time they're seeing him?
No, he appeared earlier.
Okay.
Because remember, a time frame of this was, so it was still, even though this was part 3, this was still issue 11. We have to lead into, it always led into issue 12. That's why you have that scene with that other group called Force for like a page or two. If you remember, you have like that scene with this group of aliens on a ship. Where the one guy, it's like one page where like the one guy goes to peek in on the woman and she's like.
It's early in the issue, like after the explosion with the,
Yeah, because, that's the subplot.
The one that's really into Charlie 27.
Yeah, she's into Charlie 27, and there's like one of Yondu's people on the ship. So these are the group this is the group that went up against them to try and get Cap Shield in the first 6 issues.
Gotcha.
So because again, this is that time frame. Of course, it wasn't so much of if it's a 6-issue story, it's a 6-issue story where you read part 1 to 6 and that's it. Here it was, it might be a 3-part story, but it's still part of the ongoing series. You're still going to have your subplots each issue, no matter what.
Right. Well, I'll be honest. I'm glad that you were here because I would have been pretty lost on a lot of this just because I'm not that familiar with Guardians.
And to be fair, it's issue 11.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier if you start with issue 1. But I have to say, I was a big fan of this series. Valentino has a nice, clean, fun style. At least I think so. Mm-hmm. And he definitely was, out of the original Image founders, one of the better writers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like his artwork, but yeah, I think the strength of Shadowhawk which is the only thing I've really read that he's done that I can think of off the top of my head, was in the writing and the mystery and stuff like that. And I've always kind of wanted to go back and read, like they have the Marvel has those collections now of the Valentino era Guardians books. I've just never pulled the trigger on those, but I do want to go back and read a lot of this stuff.
I mean, it's been a while since I've gone back and read them, but I enjoyed this one enough, looking back at it, and I think it's a fun, like I said, if you like Marvel, it's a fun look at the future of a possible future for Marvel, because there's stuff about the, Tony Stark's, there's an alien race that finds all of Tony Stark's armor and weapons, and they call themselves the Stark now, and everything about them is based on that armor.
So that they're basically, their entire civilization is based on Stark.
Yeah. That's what they call themselves, the Stark. In fact, one of the characters from Guardians 2 comes from there, Taserface.
Okay.
But
I know him from Guardians Volume 2.
Yeah.
The film.
Yeah. But, there's some stuff like that, Future Spirit of Vengeance. They, give you a history of, like, what happened to mutants in in this timeline. Mm-hmm. Different things like, there's different stuff like that. There's the whole quest for Cap Shield in the first 6 issues.
Yeah, the DC counterpart to this, I guess, would be like the Legion.
Exactly, because they're the same time period.
Right, but this is like a completely... I haven't read a whole lot of Legion either, but this seems to be like a completely different style of, cosmic superheroics. It doesn't seem that similar to what... I think the only Legion I've actually really read is the Mark Waid Barry Kitson run from the 2000s, but...
The difference for the Legion, of course, is that the Legion did start in the 50s, so therefore they didn't... Guardian starts as basically very post-apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not just the backstory of it. The whole premise of Guardians of the Galaxy is that, I told you about Major Astro gets to the future, and he lands on Yondu's planet, and basically Yondu's planet is attacked by the alien race, the Badoon, and Yondu is like the only survivor. And Charlie is the only survivor from his, from living off Jupiter, and Martinex is from Pluto, and he's the only survivor. So, like, everyone's, and Earth is taken over completely by this.
Everyone's a Kal-El.
Yeah, and Earth is completely taken over, and they're fighting the rebellion there. So it's very different than the Legion, which I do love, but the Legion starts as, like, it's in the 50s, so it's a very positive image of the future. Everything's
Star
good
Trek
and happy. Exactly. Everything's good and happy. And also, for good or ill, the Legion has always been the future of the DC universe. That is the future.
They're always headed towards that.
So that's one good thing, is that therefore it makes them a bit more important. Since the Guardians are an alternate future, they can kind of be kicked to the side if they want to. It's not the real timeline. Who cares? But on the other hand, it does give the Guardians a bit more leeway, and they don't have to be affected. I mean, back in the 80s after Crisis, the Legion got really affected because their whole team is based on, we were inspired by Superboy.
Right.
And this is when John Byrne then took over, and the Superman office took over. John Byrne took over Superman, and the Superman office basically told the Legion, no, there was never a Superboy. You can't even say Superboy. There is no Superboy. Get rid of Superboy. Change that now.
So did they just shift it to Superman?
They shifted it, though. In fact, there was a time period where they weren't even allowed to use the Daily Planet, which is really what? It's a newspaper, name of a newspaper. How do we know it didn't, sit ignored for 800 years? You could do whatever you want to the Daily Planet in the 20th century. Blow it up. They're going to have the Daily Planet be gone forever anyway.
Right.
It's got to come back. But so they changed it to one of their other members and made him the inspiration.
Gotcha.
But, it's that's a downside for them, is that if something major happens, it might affect them, and now you have to do all these kind of retcons.
Right.
The Guardians could, do whatever you want. We don't care. It's you say Wolverine died in 2010? That's nice. Or no, our Wolverine lived for another 300 years and had kids. And eventually one of them went evil. So, pro and con.
So, I'm assuming Rancor is... I guess they don't give a definition for how far down the line she is from Logan.
Not exactly, but...
I mean, Logan could have conceivably lived for,
She's only his great...
years.
One or two great-granddaughter.
Gotcha.
But he's still dead by this point. Well, long dead by this point. He's not going to live 1,000 years. But I think he kind of implies he lives a few hundred.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I think it's supposed to, I think they kind of established after him, basically after his kids or something, each one of them kills their parents to take over.
Wow.
The animalistic, vicious side of them takes over.
Yeah, this was an era when Wolverine, you could still kind of get away with him being that vicious. In the last, 15, 20 years, they made him a teacher at the school. They've given him so many connections to younger mutant characters, made him more like a mentor to so many other characters that you don't often hear and see the Savage Wolverine stuff as often anymore. It's like they've made him mature into too much of a leader for him to really be like that these days.
And he doesn't need to. I mean, this is now a time period where he's immortal from anything.
Yeah.
I mean, something happens, he just comes back. Even at this point in 1990 or 91, he still could get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I believe this is the point of the X-Men where a lot of this is Wolverine recovering from his injuries because he was beaten and crucified by the Reavers in issue 250, 251. I mean, nowadays if they did that to Wolverine, he would have been fine before the end of the issue. Here it took him months to recover.
Yeah, I think it jumped the shark in the Civil War issues where Nitro basically blew him up down to a skeleton.
Yeah.
And then in the same issue he regrew all the tissue and was fine within minutes essentially.
Exactly.
And it's I don't know how much I can invest in this at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I try not to be get off my lawn type person, but yeah, no, I prefer the Wolverine from the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine miniseries where he gets stabbed through the heart and it takes him a few months to recover. It's anyone else is going to die. He does live through that because he's Wolverine, but it does take time. He needs to heal still. It takes a little bit of time to heal from that. Nowadays, he's that's nice. You stabbed me in the heart. I'm going to leave it here for next. You know what? I'm going to leave it here while I do everything else. I'm not going to take it out even until after I kill you. Go home. I'm going to pick up dinner, eat, and then I'll take it off in the shower. That's when I'm going to take it out.
Yeah, that's what we're pretty much left with these days.
Yeah.
Although I did just read the new Wolverine #1 last week, and it was pretty good. So I haven't learned anything. I'm still.
Oh, this is an excellent chance for them to dial things back if they want to.
True.
With him, now being back from the dead and everything.
Yeah, I don't know how they resolved the Old Man Logan and then him coming back and stuff like that. That happened when I wasn't paying attention, but I just know that the old Wolverine's back now, or the original Wolverine is back now, and I guess Old Man Logan is dead now, or gone, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Too bad. We could have had like a Wolverine Corps miniseries. Him, Old Man Logan, all new Wolverine. Had all three of them together. That pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, go ahead and bring Dakin back into it. I think he's dead now, but that's all right. That's never stopped anyone before.
Yeah, put him in there. Oh, and what the cyborg one, the robot one.
Which one is that?
Albert.
Oh, okay, yeah. Wow, I haven't thought about that in a while.
Well, that's the period of Wolverine I remember reading the title.
Oh, okay.
By Mark Silvestri when Mark Silvestri was doing it.
Yeah. I think the first Wolverine solo issue I ever got was 50, which I think was Silvestri's last issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's about that. But yeah, no, and in fact, I read something. We'll see how it goes with comics coming out now, but Albert is supposed to be coming back, or be back around this time. So I think he's part of the Iron Man 2020 event.
Okay. I thought about giving some of those a shot, but I don't know that I will because I haven't been reading the Dan Slott Iron Man anyway, so I don't know.
I thought about that too, but I don't know if I could. I wasn't sure if I could afford to throw in this many more titles. But depending on how things go.
Yeah, you got a while to save up for them now. At this point, it seems
depending on how things go, I might just use that as like my new, maybe I'll take a look at how many there are, and like each week, the next couple months, next 2 months, if stuff isn't going to come out for a little while, I'm like, all right, so I'll get 1 or 2 of these a week if they still have them at the store, and those will be my new comics for the next few months because there's nothing else coming out.
Yeah, I do want to get that Force Works one. I'll at least get that. But yeah, I've got in my local shop. I've got, a box full of back issues I haven't got to yet. That it looks like I'm going to have a couple months to try and catch up. So
yeah, I saw my shop has they're trying to do some things like with new, they bought a whole big collection of stuff, so they're trying to like advertise some stuff each week.
Right.
To make like new book, their new books. And I saw they have 2 bundles, which I might need to get of during this time period. One of Grendel 1 through 10, and then 11 through 20. The original Matt Wagner. Oh, I love Grendel, but I haven't read too many of those early issues.
Yeah, I know there was one shop I saw on Facebook that was doing like basically a subscription box where I think you can sign up for like a $20, $30, $40, $50 box or whatever, and it's like a monthly grab bag. Basically, they send you like $100 worth of product, trades, back issues, games, whatever it is. And I suggested that to my local shops. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but that's what these retailers are going to have to do, for the next probably 2 months or so until this gets figured out. Yeah.
But yeah, actually, it reminds me. The Grendel thing reminds me about this. Is that because his Valentino's style looks a little different when he goes to when he does Shadowhawk than it does here. Mm-hmm. It's a little less polished, a little more. I almost want to say cartoony, but not too.
Shadowhawk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it until recently, rereading some Shadowhawk of those issues. Mm-hmm. If you ever read the early Grendel, when Matt Wagner was writing and drawing it himself, of like the original version of Grendel, Hunter Rose, it's a very similar type. It actually reminds his work on that reminds me a lot of Wagner's work in that on those early Grendels.
Huh? He could be inspiration there.
It impressed me a bit more when I reread that. I was like, oh, he's like, this is very much like Wagner. Mm-hmm. And since we're here, so quick question though. Okay, so obviously it's a little confusing here because it is issue 11, but I figured also it was a good cover to for attracting attention.
Yeah.
But does it make you? I'm curious. Then, are you curious enough to want to read the first 10 issues?
Oh, yeah. I already wanted to because I've been wanting to read these Valentino issues anyway. But yeah, I liked this book. It's just that I'm not familiar enough with the characters and with what's happened up to this point. It was, any comic is kind of hard to follow if you jump into the middle of a storyline.
Yeah.
But the only familiarity I had really with the characters was trading cards, really. Like I know most of these characters' names and a little bit about their history just because I collect all those Marvel trading cards when I was...
Oh, I remember those, yeah.
But outside of that, like I know I had that issue 25 with Galactus on the cover. I don't know if I even ever read it. Same with the Ghost Rider issue. I think I just bought those comics because I thought, oh, Ghost Rider to the Future. And I probably read it 25 years ago, but I don't remember anything about it. So, but yeah, I did like this issue. Didn't mean to imply that I didn't like it.
I was just curious.
Yeah, but yeah, I do want to. I know that there's 1 or 2 volumes of Valentino's Guardians run that's been collected, and eventually at a con I'll probably pick those up. If I can find them for $10 or $15.
Yeah, that sounds like a more than fair price for that.
But yeah, I did like it. Do you have a specific me and Jesse usually pick like a panel, like our favorite panel from the issue or page or moment. Easily for me, it's that 2-page spread with the Phoenix and the planet exploding. It's a really awesome, striking image. Did you have like a specific moment or panel?
Actually, yeah, I like it's the two. It's when Charlie kills the other guy, Rodney.
Okay.
It's just a cool little like the way he does it.
Cool, like Kirby Crackle effect almost.
Exactly. It's a way of telling you he's dead without actually making it bloody and gory.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like he's basically evaporated, even though you see the after effects.
Yeah, well, we don't see him again. We don't see the body, so for all we know, he's disintegrated.
Right. Yeah, good pick.
Yeah, I like that one. That's pretty cool. That was a fun one.
Well, let's look at let me pull up the poll on Facebook again, because I think we got a few comments on. But it was between, again, Guardians of the Galaxy number 11 and Adam Strange number 1. We got David Schmidt, who basically just says Strange. He's got a couple exclamation points. He was excited about it. Sorry, the voters were not with you. Justin Fish just reread the Adam Mini. James Purcell, who is a top fan. Thanks a lot, James. That Adam Strange series is top tier, all caps on top tier. So a lot of Strange comments, but not enough votes. Ron Parker says this is a tough choice. Both are all-time favorites. However, I would choose Guardians of the Galaxy. And Gus Kubasek? That's almost certainly wrong.
Kubacek?
So apologies. Kubacek. He says, I haven't read Guardians of the Galaxy. How is it? And Dan Lynch responds that it's a cool series. So he's right there with you, Al. It's a cool series.
And in fact, if I'm right, James Purcell does a Savage Dragon podcast.
I didn't know that until a few days ago, but yeah, I believe you're right. I think I saw him commenting on one of the I'm in a Savage Dragon Eric Larson group, and I saw him comment on there, and I put 2 and 2 together, because I have listened to some of those Savage Fincast episodes, but it's been a while since I've listened to one. So,
and in going with this series, actually, he's also a regular on the Legion of Substitute Podcasters, which is a Legion of Superheroes podcast.
Awesome. See, if I'd known, I've got a friend that's a super big Legion fan, so I'll have to let him know about that podcast for sure. I would be lost, but he would probably.
That's what they're there for.
Good point. Also on the UnspokenDecade.com, which is a 90s comics fan site. If you go to the UnspokenDecade.com, there is a Guardians article up there from Dean Compton. The title of the article, Not Those Guardians, Not That War. And it is focusing on the Infinity War crossover issue of Guardians of the Galaxy, which you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
So check that out. I think that's the only Guardians-centric thing we've got on UnspokenDecade.com right now. But yeah, thanks for coming on here and doing this with me, Al, with Jesse out of the loop for a little while. You're welcome to come back sometime. I don't know when Jesse's going to be back, but even if it is me and Jesse, a third person wouldn't hurt. So come back anytime. Why don't you let people know where they can find you?
Sure. Like you said, I'm the host of Resurrections and Adam Warlock and Thanos podcast, which is about Adam Warlock and Thanos. It's really right there in the title. But also a bit of other Marvel cosmic stuff that relates to Adam Warlock and Thanos. Just type in Adam Warlock or Thanos at any podcatcher you use, and it'll pop up, because we're pretty much the only thing like that. Or go on Twitter at Adam Thanos Pod.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at BrodyMan34. And I've got a couple things up on UnspokenDecade.com under JC Armstrong. Since Al's here, I got an Infinity Gauntlet article up there, top 10 moments from the Infinity Gauntlet I put out last year, right as Endgame dropped. So yeah, check out UnspokenDecade.com, and I want to say thanks to Radulich and Broadcasting Network and W2M Network for hosting the podcast, and we will catch you guys next time.